You are standing in the pause between breaths, that space where nothing seems to move, yet everything is quietly shifting beneath the surface. It feels like life has slowed down, plans stall, conversations echo with deeper weight. Synchronicities flicker at the edges of your awareness. You sense something is near, yet you cannot name it. This is the moment between realities, and what you don't realize is that it is not emptiness. It is rearrangement. The quantum field, the invisible web of infinite possibilities, is moving, aligning, recalibrating itself around the vibration you have been holding. Think of the double slit experiment. A single particle doesn't know where to go until it is observed. It hovers in possibility, spread out as waves of potential, waiting for attention to collapse it into form. That's where you are right now. Not in the old life, not yet in the new, but in the shimmering space where infinite versions of you are possible. Most people misinterpret this pause. They call it stagnation. They think they are stuck. But the truth is, this pause is proof that the universe has heard your frequency. The old timeline is dissolving, and the new has not yet arrived. You're in the womb of becoming. Look closer. What seems like silence is filled with signs. Numbers repeating on the clock. Dreams that feel more real than waking life. A chance encounter that stirs something deep in you. It's easy to dismiss them, to shrug them off as coincidence. But here's the truth. Nothing in a conscious universe is random. The field is speaking, whispering, preparing you for the leap. Imagine two people walking through this same pause. One feels frustration, nothing is happening. The other feels wonder, everything is shifting, same moment. Two realities, two timelines. Which one collapses into form depends entirely on the lens of awareness. This is why your perception is the most powerful force in the universe. Because in this liminal space, what you choose to notice becomes the seed of the reality you step into. So when the world feels strangely quiet, don't run back to the noise. Don't cling to the old frequency out of fear. Instead, listen, watch, surrender, because the signs you're noticing are not accidents. They are invitations, confirmation that your quantum jump is closer than ever. This is not the end of the story. It is the threshold, the quiet click before the doorway opens. And when you trust this moment, when you allow yourself to rest inside the pause between realities, you become the observer who chooses which version of you collapses into form. That is how the leap begins. What if nothing in your life was random? What if every repetition, every strange coincidence, every number that seems to follow you, was the universe speaking in code? You felt it before. You glance at the clock, 11:11. You hear the same phrase from two different people in the same day. You think of a friend and they suddenly appear with a message. These are not accidents. They are synchronicities, signals from the quantum field. Science tells us that reality is not solid, but fluid. At the subatomic level, particles don't move in straight, predictable lines. They flicker in and out of existence, connected through invisible webs of possibility. And when consciousness, your awareness, observes, it collapses one of those infinite waves into form. Synchronicity is how the field lets you know you are aligned. It is the echo of your frequency bouncing back at you in physical form. Think about it this way. If you were listening to a radio but tuned slightly off station, all you'd hear is static. That's what life feels like when you're out of alignment, confusion, noise, disconnection. But the moment you turn the dial and land on the right frequency, the music becomes clear. The signs are that clarity. They are life's way of showing you you're tuned in. Let me give you an example. Imagine two people walking down the same street. One sees a billboard and dismisses it as nothing. The other reads the same words, "It's time to begin again," and feels their hearts spark with recognition. Same sign, two different realities. What shifted? Awareness. One person walked past randomness. The other collapsed meaning into form. This is why synchronicity feels personal. Because it is. The field responds to your inner state. Your repeated thoughts, your emotions, your subconscious programming. They vibrate out into the quantum. And life mirrors them back in ways that feel too precise to ignore. Carl Jung called synchronicity meaningful coincidence. Joe Dispenza calls it feedback from the field. Whatever name you give it, the truth remains the same. These patterns are proof that you are already stepping into a new timeline. So the next time the same number follows you, or the same message appears in different places, don't brush it away. Pause. Ask yourself, what is my energy saying right now? What is life mirroring back to me? Because the signs are not separate from you. They are you. Your consciousness reflected outward. Your vibration echoing through the fabric of reality. And here is the shift. Once you recognize the language of signs, you no longer wait for proof. You live as proof.
You walk as if the universe is already conspiring in your favor.
You trust the feedback. You trust the alignment. You trust yourself. In that moment, synchronicity stops being coincidence. It becomes confirmation. The confirmation that your quantum jump is already unfolding. The weight you feel is not punishment. It is preparation. Right before every quantum leap, the old version of you grows heavier than ever. The patterns you thought you escaped suddenly resurface. Old emotions rise with intensity. Circumstances test your patience, almost as if life itself is pulling you backward. But here's the paradox. It only feels heavy because it's on its way out. Think of it like a star collapsing before it explodes into light, or the moment just before dawn, when the darkness feels thickest. The heaviness is not the end. It's the compression that precedes expansion. In neuroscience, this moment mirrors what happens inside your brain when a new neural pathway begins to form. The old wiring, the automatic habits, the unconscious responses, fights to keep its hold. Your mind says, stay with what's familiar. But at the same time, new connections spark, and your awareness begins to shift. That inner tension is not failure. It's the friction of transformation. Here's a real-life example. Imagine two people both trying to step into a higher version of themselves. The first feels the weight of old circumstances and thinks, nothing is changing. I'm stuck. The second feels the same weight but understands, this is the old frequency breaking down. My new reality is closer than ever. Same heaviness. Two interpretations. Two outcomes. This is where the observer effect becomes more than science. In the double-slit experiment, particles shift depending on whether they are observed. In your life, the same principle applies. When you observe heaviness as resistance, it multiplies. When you observe heaviness as evidence of collapse, it becomes fuel for your leap. So when your world feels dense, when the arguments repeat, when the finances feel restricted, when the same emotion keeps looping back, remember, this is not life punishing you. Reality is not a mirror of blame. It is a mirror of vibration. What you're seeing is simply the echo of an old frequency running its course. And if you can hold the weight with awareness, if you can breathe through it without collapsing into the old identity, you will notice something subtle. The heaviness doesn't stay. It begins to dissolve. Because what you resist persists, but what you witness transforms. This is the preparation before the jump. The shedding of a skin that no longer fits. The release of a chapter that cannot follow you into your next dimension. So don't curse the weight. Don't fight the repetition. Let it teach you. Let it show you who you no longer are. Because the heaviness is not the end. It is the signal. The quiet proof that the old frequency is collapsing, and that your quantum leap is already on its way. Reality is not fixed. It bends, it breathes, it waits for you to look at it. At the most fundamental level, the universe does not behave like the solid walls around you. Physics tells us that matter is not truly matter, but vibrating energy held in invisible patterns of possibility, and the moment it is observed, it changes. This is the essence of the double-slit experiment. A simple test where light behaves like both waves and particles until something astonishing happens. The moment consciousness observes, the wave of infinite possibilities collapses into one outcome. The conclusion? The act of looking changes what is seen. The observer is not separate from reality. The observer shapes it. Now pause here, because this isn't just science tucked away in a laboratory. This is your life. Every time you focus your attention, you are collapsing waves of possibility into form. Every thought, every emotion, every belief becomes the silent architect of what you experience. Neuroscience echoes the same truth. Your brain is not hardwired. It is plastic, flexible, rewiring itself according to what you repeatedly think and feel. Every memory you recall, every story you tell yourself, every emotional state you dwell in strengthens a pathway in your brain. And what wires together, fires together, until it becomes the filter through which you see the world. Think about two people walking through the same situation. One loses their job and spirals into despair. This is the end. I've failed. The other faces the same loss and sees a doorway. This is the collapse before creation. Something better is aligning. Same event. Two realities. One contracts into limitation. The other expands into possibility. What made the difference? Not the external circumstance, but the internal observer. The meaning assigned, the emotion attached, the frequency broadcasted. Joe Dispenza often says, your personality creates your personal reality. In other words, the way you think, the way you feel, the way you perceive, that energy becomes the magnet that draws a matching reflection from the quantum field. This is why your awareness matters more than you realize. Because the field is not waiting for circumstances to line up. It is waiting for you to tune your inner state into alignment with the reality you desire. Emotion is the language of that alignment. Gratitude, joy, surrender, trust. These are not just positive feelings. They are frequencies, measurable vibrations that shift your body's chemistry, rewire your brain, and send a new broadcast into the quantum field. The moment you feel different, you emit a different signature. And reality bends. Here's the paradox. Collapse and creation are not separate. They are two sides of the same coin. Every time something dissolves in your life, a relationship, a job, a belief, it is not destruction. It is the collapsing wave of an old reality, making space for a new one to be born. The science and the spirit are saying the same thing. You are not a passive passenger in this universe. You are the observer, the chooser, the one who directs infinite possibility into physical form. And the shift happens the moment you decide to see differently, to hold a new perception, to feel the frequency of what you desire before it appears. Because when you do, the old reality collapses, and a new one begins to rise. Who you are is both your greatest gift and your greatest limitation. Every quantum jump demands a subtle yet profound death, not of your body, not of your life circumstances, but of the old identity that no longer serves you, the one that clings to comfort, to predictability, to the story you've told yourself for years. You resist this death because the subconscious fears change. It has built neural pathways, habits, and emotional responses around the identity you have carried. This identity is familiar, it is safe. It whispers, stay here, don't risk, don't leap. And yet, deep inside, you sense that this self is a cage. You feel it in the weight of repeated patterns, in the emotional loops you cannot break, in the subtle dissatisfaction that nags at the edges of your awareness. That whisper, that pull, that hunger, that is the call to a new version of you. Think of it like a caterpillar before metamorphosis. The old form must dissolve for wings to appear, but the process is not easy. Resistance is natural. Fear rises. Doubt floods in. And here's the paradox. The part of you that resists is the same part that holds the key to transformation. Your thoughts, emotions, and self-concept combine into an invisible energy signature. That signature broadcasts into the quantum field, attracting experiences that match your current identity. Change the identity and the field responds. Reality bends. Synchronicities emerge. Doors you never imagined open. Let me give you an example. Two people are offered the same opportunity. One sees themselves as incapable, undeserving, trapped in an old story. They hesitate. They self-sabotage. They remain in the same reality. The other sees themselves as capable, ready, aligned with their highest potential. They step forward, and the universe conspires to support them. Same opportunity, same field, different identity, different reality. Neuroscience calls this neuroplasticity. The brain can rewire itself, forming new pathways and dissolving old ones. But it requires observation, attention, and repetition. The observer, your conscious awareness, is the agent of change. When you consciously choose to let go of limiting beliefs, when you feel the vibration of your next self, Your energy signature shifts, and with it your reality begins to match. The threshold is always uncomfortable. That is the signal you are on the edge of transformation. It is the liminal space where the old self fights and the new self quietly emerges. So here is the shift. You do not need to force the old self to disappear. You simply need to witness it, to honor it, to understand that it served a purpose, but that its time has passed. And then you step forward, not into the unknown, but into the self you have already begun to feel. The self your quantum frequency has been tuning toward all along. Because every leap, every shift, every collapse in creation begins here, at the threshold of identity, where you stop being who you were and start becoming who you are meant to be. What you feel is not just chemistry, it is a signal, a broadcast, a frequency sent into the infinite field of possibility. Every emotion you experience vibrates at a measurable rate. Gratitude, love, joy, they hum at higher frequencies. Fear, frustration, resentment, they linger at lower ones. And the universe responds not to your words, but to the signal your heart emits. Think about it. Two people receive the same opportunity. One responds with fear, "I'm not ready. This is too much." The other responds with curiosity, "This is exactly what I've been preparing for." Same circumstances, yet the field shifts differently. The one who aligns emotionally opens the door for a higher version of reality to enter. Science mirrors this truth. Emotions are energy. They ripple through your body, alter your brain chemistry, and subtly influence the quantum field around you. Neuroscience calls it embodied cognition, the way your body's state shapes your mind. Quantum physics calls it collapse of possibility, the way observation and energy shape form. And spiritual philosophy calls it alignment, the way your inner world mirrors back in the outer. Here's the practical magic. Gratitude is more than a polite habit. It's a frequency that tunes you toward abundance. Surrender is more than giving up control. It is a vibration that opens you to unseen support. Trust is more than hope. It is the resonance that collapses fear-based possibilities into paths of ease. Imagine two people stuck in the same traffic jam. One rages, curses, tightens their chest. The world feels heavy, oppressive. The other breathes, notices the sunlight on the windshield, and feels a sense of curiosity. What unfolds is subtly different. The second person notices opportunities along the way, a chance meeting, a new idea sparked, a small reflection of how frequency shifts the field. Emotions are not random. They are compasses, indicators of your alignment. When you feel expansive, free, inspired, your vibration signals that you are on a path toward higher possibilities. When you feel contracted, closed, frustrated, your vibration signals that you are tuned into old timelines that no longer serve you. The shift begins the moment you notice this. The moment you recognize that feeling differently is not just an internal act. It is the architecture of new reality. You can raise your frequency consciously. You can choose gratitude over resentment, curiosity over fear, trust over doubt. And with each choice, your internal state aligns with the external world in a new quantum pattern. Here is the awakening. Your emotions are your instruments. Your body, your mind, your heart, all broadcasting into the field, collapsing infinite possibilities into the reality that matches your frequency. To feel is to create. To tune is to manifest. To raise your vibration is to open the doorway into a dimension where your desires are not distant, but inevitable. So pay attention. Align intentionally. Broadcast your frequency. And watch as the world bends, rearranges, and reflects back the vibration you have become. Because the universe is listening, and it always responds. What if the unknown is not something to fear, but a doorway to everything you've been longing for? You are standing at the edge of familiarity. The ground beneath you feels solid, but beyond it stretches a space that feels infinite, uncertain, untamed. Most people shrink from this field. They clutch what they know, repeat what is safe, resist what cannot be predicted. But the truth is, the unknown is the fertile soil of transformation. Quantum physics shows us that every particle exists in a state of probability until observed. Waves of possibility ripple in all directions, waiting for consciousness to collapse them into reality. The unknown is like this. a space full of infinite versions of you waiting to be realized. Yet it only becomes form when you step forward and align your observation, your intention, your energy with what you choose to manifest. Think about it in practical terms. Two people face an uncertain career opportunity. One clings to what they already know, fearful of failure. The other leans into uncertainty, curious, trusting, and open. The first experiences limitation, repetition, frustration. The second discovers unexpected doors, mentors, breakthroughs, realities that were invisible until they dared to enter the unknown. Embracing the unknown requires surrender, not resignation, not passivity, but the willingness to stop trying to control every detail, to understand that the field responds not to resistance, but to the vibration you emit. Fear constricts, curiosity expands, anxiety closes doors, trust opens them. Your emotions are the compass here. They signal whether you are contracting or expanding into possibility. If you feel doubt, notice it, but do not let it anchor you in the old reality. If you feel excitement, hope, or a quiet knowing, follow that frequency. That is your alignment, your signal to the universe that you are ready. Even your body participates. Neuroscience shows that when you allow uncertainty instead of resisting it, your nervous system shifts from stress into creativity. Your brain forms new connections. Your heart and mind sink into coherence. And the quantum field mirrors that internal alignment back into the world. Here's the subtle magic. The unknown is never empty. It is dense with invisible opportunities, unseen guidance, and alternate versions of your life. You do not step blindly. You step with your awareness as a flashlight, illuminating the path one choice, one vibration, one moment at a time. So when fear whispers, step back. Stay safe. Remember that safety is often stagnation, and stagnation is the old world waiting to collapse. When you take that first step into uncertainty, you send a signal that says, I am ready, I am aligned, I am creating. The shift happens quietly. The field responds before you see the outcome. Synchronicities appear, doors open. A new version of you begins to emerge, and here is the awakening. Stepping into the unknown is not losing control. It is surrendering to creation. It is entering the infinite, fully aware that every possibility exists within you, waiting to be realized. You do not have to see the whole path. You only have to take the first step. The leap does not feel like a leap. It feels like a quiet click inside your consciousness. You do not hear drums or see fireworks. You do not feel a sudden rush of accomplishment. Instead, reality shifts in subtle ways. You wake up lighter. Thoughts that used to weigh you down no longer stick. Situations that felt impossible begin to bend, rearranging themselves around your new frequency. This is the quantum jump. The moment when infinite possibilities collapse into a single, aligned version of you. The observer has done their work. Your awareness, your intention, your vibration, all have aligned. And now the universe responds. Think of it like this. A particle in the double-slit experiment remains in a state of wave-like uncertainty until observed. The act of observation collapses it into form. Your consciousness works the same way. You are the observer. The new reality already exists in probability. The jump happens the moment your perception, your belief, and your energy converge. Consider two people facing the same challenge. One struggles, doubts, and clings to old patterns. Their reality feels heavy, resistant, unyielding. The other leans into alignment, trusting the unseen currents, stepping into a frequency of possibility. Suddenly doors open, ideas appear, help arrives. The difference is not circumstance. The difference is perception, energy, and conscious choice. This is not magic. It is physics. It is consciousness. It is the subtle interplay between mind and matter, emotion and field, identity and experience. Joe Dispenza calls it becoming the new self before the world catches up. Your brain, your heart, your energy system all recalibrate. Neural pathways fire differently. Your vibration stabilizes in the new frequency. And the field mirrors back a reality you already inhabit internally. You will notice the signs. Synchronicities multiply. Random encounters feel orchestrated. The impossible begins to feel inevitable, and yet it is quiet. Not because it is small, but because it is intimate. You are witnessing your own creation, your own consciousness shaping matter. The shift is subtle but irreversible. There is no going back to the old version of you. The observer has chosen, and the field responds. Here's the shift. Recognize it, honor it, feel it. Do not chase it, do not demand it. Simply acknowledge that something inside you has changed. Your awareness, your alignment, your energy. And everything outside begins to mirror that transformation. Because the quantum jump is never a trick of circumstance. It is the natural consequence of observation, intention, and vibration. You do not create with force. You create by being, by stepping fully into the frequency of the reality you wish to inhabit. And once that shift clicks into place, you realize the impossible was never outside of you. It was waiting inside your consciousness, ready to be observed, ready to be collapsed into form. What you have become is more important than what you have achieved. The quantum jump is not a single event. It is a doorway, and stepping through it is only the beginning. Living the new frequency requires embodiment, the practice of aligning every thought, every choice, every breath with the reality you now inhabit. You are no longer the old self. Your vibration has shifted, but the world will continue to reflect both the old and the new until your inner state becomes stable, habitual, undeniable. The challenge is not creation, it is integration. It is learning to breathe the new reality into every moment. Think of two people who have both just shifted their identity. One wakes and immediately reacts as the old self, clinging to patterns of scarcity, doubt, or fear. The other wakes and moves through the day as if the new self is already natural, choosing, speaking, and acting from alignment. Over time, the first drifts back. The second consolidates the shift. One folds into the old timeline, the other solidifies the new. Science explains why this is necessary. Neuroplasticity tells us that repeated thoughts and behaviors wire the brain. Your old habits, automatic reactions, and emotional patterns still exist, even if you've jumped in awareness. To live the new frequency, you must consciously practice it until it becomes the default. The field responds not to your intentions alone, but to the stability of your vibration. Embodiment is more than thought. It is feeling. It is emotion. It is resonance. Gratitude, joy, curiosity, trust. These are the instruments you play daily. Even small acts, speaking with kindness, moving with purpose, creating with integrity, broadcast your frequency into the field, reinforcing your new reality. Here's an example. Two people begin a new creative project. One doubts themselves, waits for permission, second-guesses every step. The other acts from the new self, guided by inspiration and alignment, trusting that the universe supports them. Over time, the second sees doors open, opportunities multiply, and synchronicities flow. The first struggles. The difference is not talent or circumstance. The difference is frequency. Living the new frequency also requires self-compassion. You will feel old habits rise, old fears, old doubts. Do not judge. Observe them. Witness them. Release them. Every time you catch yourself vibrating at the old frequency and gently return to the new, you strengthen the neural pathways, the energy signature, and the reality itself. The shift is no longer dramatic. It is subtle, constant, and cumulative. It becomes your natural state. You live as the new self not because you have to, but because your inner world now leads your outer world effortlessly. And here is the awakening. The field does not just respond to who you are becoming. It reflects it back to you endlessly. The world is now in resonance with the frequency you maintain. You are no longer chasing. You are being. You are living the new frequency. And from here, creation flows as naturally as breath. The horizon is never a limit. It is an invitation. You have jumped. You have shifted. You have stepped into a higher version of yourself. And yet the journey does not stop here. Every quantum leap is both a destination and a doorway. What you see now is only the beginning of infinite possibilities stretching beyond your current perception. Reality responds to consciousness. Every moment you observe, every choice you make, every vibration you sustain collapses possibility into form. And because you have already proven your ability to align, the universe now waits for your next act of conscious creation. Imagine standing on a mountaintop, the wind brushing your face. You see valleys and peaks beyond, horizons layered with light and shadow. You know the climb has not ended. Each step forward reveals new heights, new vistas, new realities. This is the nature of your path. Every leap transforms you, but it also exposes the edges of what is possible, inviting you to go further. Two people experience this reality differently. One celebrates the jump and then settles back into old habits, convinced they have arrived. The other celebrates, yes, but then opens their awareness wider, curious, inspired, and ready for the next expansion. The first remains in a fixed world. The second rides the wave of infinite creation. The difference is consciousness. The difference is presence. Your emotions, your frequency, your self-concept. These are the instruments that allow you to continue expanding. Each leap recalibrates your field. Each alignment tunes your body, mind, and energy to higher possibilities. And as your frequency rises, reality continues to mirror back the highest version of you. Not once, but endlessly. Here's the paradox. The more you realize the infinite horizon, the more freedom you feel. There is no finish line, no permanent plateau, only continuous evolution. Every desire, every dream, every intention becomes a stepping stone to a higher expression of self. And the field always responds when you maintain the awareness that your potential is limitless. So step forward with trust. Step forward with curiosity. Step forward with the knowledge that each leap is both a confirmation and an invitation. The universe is infinite. You are infinite. And together, you create endlessly. The shift you have mastered once is not a one-time miracle. It is the proof that you can align again and again, rising through layers of reality that were once invisible. Each jump prepares you for the next. Each expansion shows you more of the infinite horizon waiting beyond the now. And here is the awakening. The journey is not about reaching a destination. It is about living in alignment, in presence, in awareness, in frequency. It is about embracing the infinite, moment by moment, leap by leap, until every version of yourself has been realized. And yet, more remain to be discovered. The horizon is infinite, and so is your becoming.